Hey everybody, it's Jim Johnson here, the head coach at Contractor Coach Pro with another episode of Contractor Radio. And we have one of my favorite people in the industry with us today. We're going to be talking a little bit about coaching, which I know kind of sounds a little bit self-serving, but we want to talk about it from the perspective of its value to you as an individual, whether you use a company like Contractor Coach Pro, and maybe some of the things those coaches have done for you over time. And we're going to be talking to somebody that has a lot of experience on this side of things. He's been a business consultant before, / coach. He's had them in his life. And so we want to talk about what that kind of does for somebody having one of those people in place. It may surprise you a little bit of the conversation today. And so I'd like to welcome aboard the rock star from McLenny, Moseley and Associates, the man, Pate G Money Smith.
G Money, I love that.
What's up, man? There we go. Good. Now we got your audio. So, man, first off, awesome to have you on board. This whole COVID thing is driving me crazy. I don't get to hang out with my buddies.
Yeah.
And you're definitely one of those guys I enjoy hanging out with. We've had several side conversations, just you and I, on this coaching and consulting thing. I know you have a passion for it. And when I reached out the other day about, hey, let's get you online, I said, I don't want to talk anything about roofing. I want to talk about like getting better as a person, getting better as a business, and what some of those things were that you were kind of passionate about. And you're like, hey, let's talk about coaching. I'm like, well, it seems self-serving, but let's go for it. Let's see what we can bring with this coaching side of things, because I think it brings a little bit of a connotation of pride into the equation. Like you almost have this feeling like, well, I don't need a coach. I want to do this on my own type of feel.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of dig into that today, but give us a little background on this business consulting side of things that you did for a while and why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah. So my second year of law school, actually between 1L and 2L year, or right when it started, I was getting coached by a guy. I ran like a male professional development blog at that time, where we talked about using sales techniques to kind of like increase whatever he did. So if it was like dating, if it was studying, if it was, you were working at like a marketing firm, whatever, there were these incredible, let's say, sales books that had been out through the years. I was a little bit of a nerd in professional development. I love it because I think it's Tony Robbins that says to stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before you. Could be wrong. It could be somebody else. I don't know. But I love that. I love that quote, right? And so I'm like, why am I going to reinvent the wheel? So starting about 12, I used to hang out in my parents' basement and play Metal Gear Solid and Twisted Metal. And instead of having the volume on, I would listen to like Zig Ziglar or whatever. And there would be these giant cassette boxes with like 15 cassettes. This was way before you could, legally download these. Shout out Napster, shout out LimeWire. And that's how I kind of got into it. And so at that point in time, the coach I was with had guys who was like, could you do this? I was like, yeah. I kind of started getting some steam on a professional development blog. So I started taking on a couple clients. They were like, whoa, man, like this is really helping my business, the business side of my life. I'm a huge proponent of high volume interaction with individuals, going back, looking at the interaction and asking the question, like, why did that interaction not go well? And then using information that is out in the world basically for free, or that a coach can provide, something that's distilled down, and really become a student of person-to-person interactions, sales interactions, and then last but not least, being a student of yourself. And I think that a lot of people need coaching. I needed coaching, right? Like I would not be where I am right now without coaching. Not like on a scholastic level, but professional development taught me to speak, right? Like I said, I suck at this. And I didn't suck. I just wasn't where I want to be. One of the things that I learned how to do was like flow state speaking engagements, which is like one of the most fun things I've ever done. I said, you know what? I don't know many people in these particular cities. I'm going to rent out a conference area or a part of a hotel, and I'm going to advertise, try to get people to show up. And if I have 5 people or I have 50 people, it's a win because it's free for them to go to. Let's say I spend a couple $100 on each one, hotel, yada, yada, food. That's cool. But then I generate a client base and I generate experience for myself. And so I did that, grew a client base. And I coached clients even on to the time of my last job. Now I don't take on any clients. I feel like every contractor and PA in the country that calls me every day is my client now. I feel like I've committed to that game and given my life, to serve that. Although I do, man, like I have had some pretty good successes in businesses in the past. And sometimes I look in and I'm like, man, I could, really flip that particular business around. But I don't, but yeah, that's kind of been my past. And finished law school, never practiced, and just ran the coaching company up until my last gig.
Well, that's kind of what you're up to now. Like, if I understand things correctly, you're kind of finishing up that whole getting studied for the bar and like going to go do it.
Yeah. So I plan on passing the bar and being the greatest first party attorney of all time.
Look out, John Hoteling, right? Like, Pate's going to be in the game, so you better watch out.
I mean, I don't step in to not be the greatest. Like, why even get up?
Hey, 100% on that. That's been like my own personality. I think that's why we align so well, is like we're both super competitive. Like, if I'm going to go in and get into something, I want to be great at it.
Yep.
And that's this whole thought process of building your knowledge. Knowledge is great, but if you don't use it, execute it, and improve upon it, it does no value for you or anybody else that you come in contact with. So you had a lot there I want to unpack. But before I do that, there's a question I always ask early on in my interviews, and because I think they play a big part in the overall interview, is today, like as of today, not what you might do in the future, but what's your greatest achievement that Pate's been able to accomplish, not including getting married and having kids, family stuff. Like, those are easy things that we have to fall back to, because if we don't, our wife will shoot us. So other than that, what's your greatest achievement?
I think like accepting that like I am enough for whatever I want to do. I know that's not like a particular achievement, but that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to get over, was like realizing like I am enough. And that was the catalyst of a trillion successes. And I don't really think I've done a whole lot. I look at people that are my mentors and I'm like, man, I'm like nothing compared to these people. But that being said, I think that acceptance of I am enough, just put in the work, that was my greatest achievement, because it was a realization of, 1, I can do it, and 2, the work is necessary, and like nothing is given, but nobody's stopping me but me. And I think, as cheesy as that sounds, that's my greatest accomplishment, because it was that like mental attitude that takes me to where I am. Like there's a lot of times where you don't want to do, I work like a lot. And then there's a lot of times where I don't want to do those Barbary videos, or I don't want to answer 50 more questions, or, a contractor calls me at like 11 and I don't want to answer the phone, but it's like, what should I do? What do I deserve? What does the me of tomorrow deserve? And I think that mindset has been my greatest success, because it's a hard one to have.
Yeah, that's wild, because I don't know, that happened for about 15 years ago for me. Like, that I am enough today. For who I am today, I am enough for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to be a little better, and then that'll be enough for tomorrow. And I try to do that every day. Like, can I get a little better today? It doesn't have to be a lot. It could just be a little move in the needle, but it's a little bit better than it was before. I feel like if I didn't get better today, I failed myself, not anybody else. I'm not comparing myself to anybody else. I don't worry about competition or, trying to be as quote unquote well-known or as good as somebody else. I just want to be as good as Jim Johnson can be. And
I always say this: how do I be a nugget better?
Yeah. It gives you freedom having that. Yeah. You get a little freedom with that attitude of like, hey, who I am is enough. And so that's super cool. I think we could just end the show right there because, like, if everybody just got that part about their lives, I think it'd be a lot better situation for them. So
that wasn't an easy thing to arrive at. You can't just like wake up and like, oh, I'm enough today. But,
yeah.
I think there was some serious introspection. I mean, I can definitely thank my wife for putting me in that mindset. Like, as much as my wife, my family, my parents, but until you believe it, it doesn't matter. And until you're, like, willing to do what it takes to have that mindset and then apply the things around it. I mean, it's an exhausting existence sometimes, but it's one that I think, you could even like think about this biblically, but like all the greatest people at the end of the day, they're surrounded by tons of people, but it's an alone existence because you're the one that's out there doing the work. Right. So like, when you're sitting there trying to get better at threes, Steve Kerr, that was a lonely existence, right? Steve Kerr sat there and shot those threes. Reggie sat there and shot those threes. And it's not about like, do I put in the time? It's, do I have the mindset to be great? And, I think Drake said it best when he said, I'm not the greatest, but I'm headed for it. Right. And so the way you're headed for it is that mindset. Like, am I going to do what it takes? Am I going to put in the work? Am I going to surround myself with the right people to do it? On Saturday, am I going to study for the extra 4 hours? Am I going to work the 3 hours? Am I going to make the callbacks I need? Or am I just going to say, screw it, I'll do the whole day at the lake? Because I can tell you what's easier. It's not the calls.
No, not at all. Like, it's the effort, right? Like, there's effort to improve. Like, Vince Lombardi is one of my favorite people on the planet as far as the way he approached things, not just because I'm a Packer fan, but just in the way that he did things. And one of the things he said is we can't achieve perfection, but we can try to get as close as we possibly can to achieve mastery. And that's what I'm always after. Like, I want to master whatever it is that I'm about. Like, I'm trying to master this coaching thing. I'm far from that. I got a lot to learn and still improving every day. We're getting better at it. Our customers do pretty well, but there's more that we can do. We can get cleaner, faster, better able to understand, to simplify things. There was something else I heard the other day that I thought was kind of interesting, and you touched on it for a second. This concept of failing forward, right? Like being on your own and saying, hey, on my own, I'm going to just keep trying. And one way or the other, I'm going to get through that obstacle. I'm going to figure it all out. But why would you do that if somebody already has the information? You can just go there right now. Like, you can go there and not have to go through all of that. And then the things that you do learn through failure are those bigger things, those things that push the envelope even further forward. It was kind of an interesting way of looking at things. So I've always thought, like, fail forward, man. I'll just keep trying things until I figure it out. But if somebody's already figured out that thing, I might as well go get some of their advice and get there quicker. How do you feel about that?
1,000% agree. So in my living room right now, I have a professional video studio. I've got super expensive mics, a soundboard. I knew nothing about this world. I have what's called a Miracast. Don't even really know what that is, but I could have screwed around. Took me 6 months to arrive here, but instead I was like, who do I pay to have the situation I need for the Large Loss Lounge so that I can come on and provide value, right? So that I can provide a weekly cast that is deserving of McLenny and Moseley and Associates. So I could screw around and figure it out, or I could go right to the person that I need that has that info. Business is no different, right? When I need something, I'm going to go to the person that already knows it and expedite my success. I'm 35, right? I know that I've got like another maybe good 30 years, maybe 35, right? I saw my dad. I saw like how effective he was up and until his 70s. And then he became slightly less effective, slightly less effective, slightly less effective. So I know there's diminishing returns. And I fully believe that with like health science, right? Like I'll be able to stay where I want to be, maybe with some sort of like, like blood work and hormonal achievements. But that being said, like I'm going to expedite every single thing. If you want to be great, if you want to take your business to the next level, what Eric Obram's one of my really good friends, and I really still don't know how to pronounce his last name. But that being said, I mean, he surrounds himself with incredible coaches, right? Like business, marketing. The guy has taken the comment, and I don't even know if he's done this purposefully, but you are the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. And I like to expound that. So I like to, huge fan of tribal theory, right? And so Dunbar's number of you have 150 people that you have in your head, and then you effectuate life for those 150, right? My goal is to be in as many people's 150 as possible. I can only have 150, but how am I in 150,000 people's 150, right? But that being said, in my 150, what incredible mentors do I have? What people do I surround myself with that bring me down? And what people do I surround myself with that bring me up? What people say things that make me better? If I like the standard coaching model of I spend time with an individual, that individual's sole purpose during the week is to make me and my company better. I love that idea. I love that concept because you know what? Usually it's only me carrying. And now I have somebody else that takes the knowledge of all the people he has, distills that, and boom, hit the mic. And boom, and what do you get then? Right? You have an individual that's going to expedite your success. I think I've done it in every single business that I've touched. And sometimes I do it because I out effort the thoughts. So like problem X, and it's not something I know, but I can effort figuring it out. Like, how do we figure this? And we spend enough time on it, you get an answer, right? And most people never spend enough time on it. So they never come up with an answer, or not in a quick enough fashion. So that's why coaching is important. That's why surrounding yourself with those mentors are important. I would guess, I don't know a ton about your business. I've spoke at one of your events. But I would guess that when you step into a business, you can show a tangible ROI.
Oh yeah.
It takes time, but you can.
Yeah. We're a little bit different about what we do. Like, I feel like my feet need to be held to the fire at all times. And so we don't do contracts or any of that kind of stuff. It's a pay-as-you-go thing. Mm-hmm. And if we're not providing value, you should fire us. If we're not making you money, you should fire us. If we're not making your business better, you should fire us. And we're okay with that. It keeps us on our toes. It keeps us learning every day. Keeps us taking the information from the hundreds of contractors that we've coached and distilling that down to the right action at the right time for your particular situation. Because I've been fortunate. It really is a situation where, as a contractor, did well. As a commercial contractor, did well. With AccuLinks, I thought I was going into something where I knew everything. I knew how to do this thing better than anybody on the planet. And so I started going in and meeting all these contractors. I went into the offices of over 1,000 different guys, much like you have with, all these contractors you've met. I got to see all these ways that they were doing business. And the epiphany to me was, there's not a right or a wrong way in most cases. There's definitely right actions and right and wrong actions, but the way that you believe in is the right way. The one that you can actually get some belief in, because then you start to take action. So we don't coach like, here's Jim Johnson's system or the Contractor Coach Pro system. There's this framework to what we do. We believe there's 12 different aspects of your business that you need to have a pretty good strategy in. But that needs to fit your resources, your abilities, your tools, your skills, and grow those skills where you're at right now. And so you can't coach $1 million company like you'd coach a $65 million company, because they all have different resources, tools, and skills available to them.
Okay, so this is one thing that used to drive me crazy. So let's go back 2000, probably 13, 14, 15. And you look back at these I'm not going to say the name of this national company, but there was a particular national company that crushed in coaching, and literally they would hire people out of college that had no professional development experience and be like, this is the playbook. Fill this sheet out. And so I knew I would get a client when somebody says, oh, yeah, no, I actually am coached by this particular company. And I'm like, oh, are they doing this? Yeah, they are. Do you ever feel like those sheets that you're filling out, that you're filling them out and you reflect on them, but there's no future like follow-up? Yeah, I do kind of feel like that. Do you ever feel like they're trying to make a cookie cutter model of what's a very personal thing? Because coaching is a very personal thing, right? Like I can spend a day with a person, and that's one thing that I used to do is if they got like one of my larger packages, I would fly out, we'd spend like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we'd work on whatever that was, and I would get to know that individual and I would get to know their company. And that was kind of like my highest package. And then, for 6 months, we would work on those particular issues unless we expedited so quickly. We were like, boom, next issue. But 100%, man, like the cookie cutter model of coaching doesn't really fit everyone. I think when you look at somebody like a Sam Taggart, and Sam has his knock more, 100% agree. I'm a knock more person, not just on doors, knock more with being better, introducing yourself to people. That's, knock another door. In getting in front of property management, if you're in the contracting game, fail 50 times. Who cares? Like, go, fail. Right? Like, what, you think you're going to get worse by doing it? You're not. Should you reflect? Yeah, you should. But, one more rep is always better than no more reps.
Oh, you got to that was a great segue, because you said one more rep, and I can remember that from my coaches, in school, and I wanted to talk to you about that from an athletic perspective. You played sports. What'd you play back in the day?
I played basketball all through. I was probably a better basketball player than anything. I actually stopped playing sports at all in 10th grade. So I went up through the years, and 10th grade, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Had a little entrepreneurial, couple things going on then. And I thought I was like, the man. So in 15, I started my first little Pate Smith company, and kind of just wanted to go down that route. I love sports, but I was at that point in time, I was like, I can drive if I want. I was playing in men's league at that point in time, and you couldn't play men's league and school league. And men's league was basically year round. And so I was like, I can do this while I do all of my other endeavors. And I really like dating girls, and practice was like super problematic. So with that, I was like, killed your.
There was the difference between the two of us. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely love girls. Super shy, like completely unable to even talk to a girl in any way. And so I focused on sports, and I got to play through high school and a little bit in college and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But what do you remember about those coaches? Like, what was it that kind of sticks out that might apply in the business world? Like, how are they similar?
So I can look at it from like two different angles, right? So I had some great coaches through the years. Ones that adequately pushed me, that, coaching is a combination of improving a particular task plus adequate motivation, right? So like if we want to look at those two sectors, and I think that's what made good coaches. And then I think you look and you had horrible coaches that were just there to like pick up a check. And, you'd be like, okay, well, why are we doing this particular drill, right? Like you would ask yourself that particular question. And you may even say like, coach, hey, what's this drill for? It's because you need to do it. Okay, why do we need to do it? Like, and I get that like in the time of practice, but like from a theoretical standpoint, like I was a person like, oh, what are we trying to learn here, right? Because I was like super inquisitive as a kid. And then one time, one of my favorite things ever is one of the coaches told my dad he would be surprised if I graduated high school and would be surprised if I could get into college. This was in like 9th grade. I can never forget that. And so like sometimes if I don't feel like doing something, like that's one of the things that pops into my head. I've got like probably 25 of those, and that's one of my 25.
Okay. So those would be, I think, some examples of not the greatest coaching in the world, right? Driving you by negative reinforcement would be a bit of that. Like you took that, internalized it, and it's what drives you forward today. What are some of those?
I would say that's a minor driving factor of all driving factors.
Yeah, like
sometimes you're like, you know what? Like, this one's for you, dog. What's up? Like, I'll give it another 40 minutes.
Yeah. What is it that makes a good coach?
A person that is able to use their senses, scientific method, and come up with an application to make an individual better.
So unpack that a little bit. What do you mean by that? It sounded good, but let's clue the folks into what that is.
Okay, so I think a coach, he listens to an individual and he listens to their goals, and he also can foresee what they may not know about their goals. So one thing that I would always like to say was a person's goals their first month with me is not going to be their goals from that point out. It's usually their goals are usually so below their potential, they just don't have an expedited way to get there. And minor adjustments will put them on the path so quickly, they begin to think, oh, wow, what else is possible? And so I think that it's not just about helping a person get to a point they want to go, but you have to listen and you have to look. You just use your senses when you're a coach, and you say, okay, what does this person really want? And then you look and say, what is this person's actual potential? Right? Because coaching linearly to a goal, cool, good job. But taking somebody past that in an expedited manner and having them completely reassess, maybe themselves, their business, how they go about achieving their business model. Maybe they're like, oh, I want to work 60 hours a week or whatever it is and be successful. Maybe it's not. Maybe they applicate some sort of Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week model to where they're able to do the 60 hours in 20. I hate the 4-hour work week model, but I love the efficiency portion of it. That book probably changed my life more than any, to make me more effective as a person. But as a coach, use those senses, watch the person, use what you know, come up with an application to get them to success, and realize maybe they're even greater than they think. And that's what I mean by that is, it's not just about what they want, but how do you make them achieve what they can? And that's greater than what they want a lot of times.
Yeah, I would say that's a struggle for us as coaches is getting people to believe in themselves as much as we believe in them and their ability. A lot of times they're trapped by preconceived notions and their experiences prior to being involved with you. They don't realize what their true potential is. And it takes a little time to build that up through steps of belief. You get that first step of belief and you take this action and that thing happens and you see it and you're like, wow, okay, that worked. What's the next thing? And you get a little more and a little more. And then they really start to believe in themselves that they can actually achieve those things. And for us, it's not about like all business, like grow my business, scale it as big as I can, all that stuff, which is great and wonderful. We all want to make money. I get that. But what do you want out of life? What's the goal? Why are you doing all this in the first place? What are you going to do with all that money? You're going to do something impactful? You're going to roll around in your bed with it? What's the reason for all this?
I had that the other day. I was like, she said something and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And I was like, why? And I was like, why the hell do you think we work as hard as we do? It's not just to have money and crap. Like what? Like we want a nicer table? We want a nicer couch? I don't care. Right? the goal for reaching potential isn't to have.
I would say it's not to have more; it's to do more.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my whole thing is, I mean, I think I work hard and I love the W's, right? Like, I love achieving things that people don't think can be done. Like, it bothers me. Like, I can remember the first time I was like, I'll never get a claim that's $1 million. Like, I can remember that. Right. And I can remember like struggling and then finally getting one. And then I can remember when that passed, this thing that like had held over me for months, I was like, well, what now? Right. Like, what did that even do? And I was resetting my goals in December of 2019. And I was, sitting in bed with my wife, put the kids down, the battle of that. I don't know if you've ever put twin 3-year-olds down, but I'm just saying, when you actually, you know what, when you said, what's your greatest accomplishment? Getting them to sleep. That's
okay.
Your greatest accomplishment.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because I'm going to tell you what, there's been wars won easier than that sometimes. But, I was looking and I said, what do I want to do this year? And, I've had years where I just said X amount of RCV that I bring into X company. And this year I don't have that. I want to every single day wake up, do what I have to do to put my family in the best possible success as successful as possible. And I don't want to have my wife and kids worry about things. And if I can do that, that's a win for me. And I think I will be the greatest first party attorney ever? Yeah, I think I will be. Do I think I'll do it like sooner than later? Probably, because it's like my goal, and maybe I'm not, but I'm headed for whatever I want to do. And maybe that changes, right? Maybe 5 years from now, I'm like, why would I ever want to do that? Let's start something else. But if I have the potential and I can do it and it serves society, I think that's a good goal. And I think that's why when we were looking at our goals for 2020, MK and she was like, how many million do you want to put up this year? And I was like, I don't care. I will do what's right. And I will wake up every day. I will put in the effort that I have to put in every single portion of my life, and the rest takes care of itself.
How have the results been with that approach versus the money type of goal setting situation?
I'll just say this. Good. I mean, this is my best year probably ever as far as marketing and providing value for a company that drives in business. I think that's partially because I'm working for a company with such good people. I mean, it's like literally you have to be like, oh, really? Look at this. Look what we do. And it's just like, oh, wow. Yeah, we can help. But I mean, yeah, it's been awesome because I don't care. Like, if I do X one day, and I'll say this, let me give a shout out to Michael Gogan because he put me in check hard yesterday. He was like, hey man, I know you've been really stressed lately. And I was like, yeah, I hadn't seen my kids in like 4 weeks. So I just get up, work every day, work out, cook meat, and get up and do it again. I'm like doing a fight camp against the Alabama bar exam right now. So I'm treating it like I'm a UFC fighter. It's just me versus this bar exam. I get, a good 4 to 8 hours of work in, and then a good 4 to 10 hours of study. But man, I will say this, give a shout out to Gogan because yesterday, man, he called me and texted me and he was like, hey, I know you're stressed out right now. He was like, let everything else go. He was like, knock out the bar exam. He was like, everything else you've done. And I was like, wow, because I was concentrating again on, I need to do this per day. I need to do this per day. And I got away from my goal, right? My goal was just to do the best me, right? Like if I do the best that Pate Smith can do, McLenny Moseley kills it. If I do the best Pate Smith can do, the kids are great. And I'm not going to be a 10 every day. My best might be a 7. And having acceptance for that is hard because, I mean,
well, being able to let it go. That's the key. It's like if I have that day that's a 7, it's not a 10. I can't hold on to that. Like that was yesterday. That's past now. So today, let's go for a 10. That's super cool. Who's a coach? I'm going to ask you about 2 different coaches. Who's the coach that had the highest or biggest impact on your life, and why?
All right, I'm going to flip this over real quick. So my wife and I have like a super strange relationship in the fact that we're like brutally blunt with each other, and with work and everything, like we don't let each other slide. Actually, you should ask Zach about it because he was like semi-uncomfortable because like I was like, yo, she works at McLenny Moseley, and I'd be like, yo, MK, like this has to happen today. Like this isn't like something we can discuss, right? Like this particular task has to get finished. And Zach would be like, my wife would stab me. I've talked about this moment before, but I lost. We were pregnant with the kids. And we were in our loft downtown. Like we thought we were cool living in Omaha, a 2-story loft. Like, look at us, we're so swanky. And I lost a huge company out of Boston and a huge company out of Utah, or maybe it's Oregon. Anyway, in like a 36-hour period, I lost 3 of my biggest clients, and it was hitting me out at like a considerable amount, like enough to where I was not comfortable with the amount I was making. And I had worked so hard to get those clients, and I had done so well. But a particular issue happened with some stocks and the economy, and those companies were in the same sector. And they said, hey, our first year bullpen, I know you're coaching them. We're ceasing that. So we're going to pay this month and no more. And I was like, wow. So this wasn't anything I had to do. And I can remember sitting there on the couch. And she was like, I've never seen you like this. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, we just lost this. We're pregnant with kids. We're buying a house. Like, how am I going to be able to afford taking care of you guys? And I can remember just feeling hopeless. And the strongest coaching, God, I can't even talk about this.
You got this.
She looked at me and she goes, I'll give you 24 hours and I expect you to pick up the phone tomorrow. And that moment, I have made so much bigger leaps and bounds. That was the biggest moment of my life. I know that's weird to say, but
no, that's
sorry. Yeah.
No, just so you know, I mean, I think a lot of us that are in strong marriages, which I would put yours into that group. The reason for that is because both parties uber support the other party. And I've had times in my life where things went awry. I thought, and that hopeless feel. And I can remember Michelle looking at me and going, "This ain't you. Get up and go." And sometimes that's what we need is a little. I call those kick in the teeth moments. You get kicked in the teeth, and then instead of being hugged and kissed and loved on, you get kicked in the teeth again to wake up. Mm-hmm. And you need that little slap across the face every once in a while.
And I mean, I was just, she was like, it's what you always do, pick up the phone and make something happen. And I was like, whoa, like you believe in me so much right now, and that's true. And then the next day I did. If it wasn't for that particular moment, I wouldn't be in this industry.
That's, it really applies. Like, I think a lot of people think of us as coaches as this group of people that are always like supportive and it's all okay. And you're going to be, we'll get you through it. And it's like, no, get your butt up and get to work. Like, there's work that needs to be done. You're not getting the work done. If you're not going to get the work done, I don't want to be your coach anymore.
Right.
But you're not in this game to win it. And sometimes that tough love thing is that thing that we need in our life to kind of wake us up a little bit. Man, that was powerful.
The king of, if I had a client and they had particular tasks in that week, and it would be like I'm like, all right, we're just not going to do our coaching hours.
Yeah, Steve Faulkner says, not feeling sorry for yourself, and then bam, get hit by a 2-before. Wake your butt up. Yeah, that's we need that, and I think that's the other thing about coaching is like there's accountability there, right? Like you were accountable to MK and your kids, and she was holding you accountable, and that's really, after all these years of doing this coaching thing, we've been doing this for 7 years now. When everybody asks us, like, what do you do as a coach? And I think a lot of people wonder what we do. They know we work with companies, we help them get better and they grow and all that other good stuff, but they don't really get the what we do. We hold you accountable to what you're after, where there's nobody else really doing that. There's nobody else saying, hey, you're accountable to everybody else on the team because you are the main man. You're in charge. And it's nice there's a reason we have personal trainers. There's a reason we have nutritionists. There's a reason that we have self-help people and folks like that, because they hold us accountable to getting where we have the potential to be. And sometimes we just need that in our life. I think that was, I'm going to give MK a high five on that. Tell her that high five is from me. That is super cool.
I'm actually looking for a coach right now, trying to coach me to have better facial hair distribution and less on my neck.
Somebody, if they created that dude would be rich, because I have a problem with that too. That's why I'm always babyface, shaved clean, because if I grow it out, it'll be patches everywhere and it's not going to look real good. Steve, as coaches, if you feel defeated, then your team will be defeated. If you give up, then your players give up. And yeah, seriously, I can remember coaches, growing up playing sports, I had the coaches that you could just see it on their face that they had given up on that particular game or that particular practice or whatever it was. And when they did, we did. But there was always that coach, those really good coaches who are like, dude, I ain't giving up on you. You can do this. You can accomplish it. You can get this done. And I'm going to be right there with you to force you to achieve this thing that you're after. Those are always the good coaches for me, the ones that really pushed me to be a better me, because I surely wasn't gifted. I'm 5'10" white guy. I just, seriously, there's not a lick of sports ability that was given to me. It was all like because I worked at it. And it's the same thing in business. I'm not smarter than anybody else. I do find a lot of value in building myself through reading and getting coaches and stuff like that to get better at what I do, but I'm not any smarter than anybody else. It's just that I've invested a lot of time in those areas where I want to be successful.
My favorite line is, "You're not special, but you're not special."
Yeah. I'm just special in this one thing, and I'm okay at it. I'm not the greatest. There's a lot of other guys, and I don't want to be those guys. I don't want to be a Zig Ziglar or a Tom Hopkins or Tony Robbins. Man, they look drained. They don't look like they're loving life a whole lot. And I want to enjoy life, and I want to help others enjoy life by helping.
I definitely so I speak a lot now. I speak more on my current position than I do than I did even, as a speaker and a coach. I speak sometimes, I bet there's been weeks where I have 10 different engagements. And I get that way where MK or one of my friends, Paul Reed, one time was like, dude, you look rough. I think I came off of the Hell Trace tour split up by IRE, then was home for 1 or 2 days, then on the road again, straight up into Win the Storm, into another. And Paul was like, hey, man, you got to take some time off. He's like, you give all this energy to people and you deal with issues and you go and go and go. And so I definitely feel that sometimes where, you get a little worn down and you're not as optimal that particular day as you can. And when you stack 35 of those days in a row, it becomes problematic, right? And so, yeah, I feel that. And I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan because I have mad respect for his 10-hour flow state coaching days. So I haven't gone to one yet, but I am going to. The fact that he does that is a next level of human. That is a superhuman thing to me.
Oh yeah, it's nuts. I've been to a few of his events. I've been going to those type of events for the last 32 years or so.
Have you ever seen him do one of the 8 to 10 hour deals?
Where he's just there the whole
he just is up there banging it out 8 to 10 hours in the room with people. Yeah, you've seen one?
Yeah.
Is it incredible?
3 days in a row of it. It's amazing. The fire walk and the whole bit. I did the fire walk. That was super cool. Other than the people that got burned doing it because they didn't have enough earth to them. But yeah, it was it's expanding what you can believe in. That's one of the things I find a lot of value in him. He's awesome, but like I said, that's not who I want to be. I just want to be me, and that's enough, right? Pate, this has been an outstanding interview. We kind of got to dig into you a little bit. I don't think you get to share like this in most. You're always talking about large losses, and
people always ask me how they get starter and ridge paid.
Yeah, we get tired of those questions, right?
Oh my God. Hey, but for real, you mentioned the Packers. Do you wish they would have had some coaching on this year's draft?
Wow, that was a dagger at the heart. We're not real happy with our draft. My son is a bigger fan than I am, and I'm like, what kind of craziness just went on there? It seemed strange. Maybe they're wily like a fox, and I just don't get it. But
were you just like, huh?
Yeah, I was actually okay with quarterback. That was good with that. They did the same thing with Favre and Rodgers. Got them early. Everything after that was complete garbage, and whoever was in charge should be fired immediately.
Yeah,
it was what in the world is going on here? Yeah, that coaching. We'll see. Well, they better have great coaches. They have great coaches because player personnel needs some work.
Or great trade plan because
it's a bit of craziness. Well, hey, so speaking of sports, you're I know I hate to even bring it up, but you're a huge Alabama fan.
I am.
And your man is the man. As far as coaches go, it's Belichick, Saban, end of conversation. And that's still coaching, right? They're still doing their thing. You can throw Lombardi in there and some of the others, but what do you think makes them so different?
I have thought about this a lot. And if you look at – actually, one of my goals is to have my life more similar to Nick Saban's. I'm serious.
You want to coach the team, run the team, the whole bit?
Well, I like how he segments his days out and then spends time perfecting each of those segments. So he wakes up and every day he does the same exact thing, right? So if depending on the time of the year, right, obviously during recruiting season, he supplements that out. But, this time to this time is one thing. This time to this time is one thing. This time to this time. And then he fits his schedule out. And I do that. If you see me at conference season, I'll have my entire day basically planned from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. It might be a crazy thing in the day, but if you look at it, I'll even have, from 11:30 to 1, walk the floor, don't be at your booth, right? And then with X goal in mind. And I think that's why he and Belichick do it, is because they have a routine and they know how to, at the tip top of the pyramid, and through proper delegation and the addition of the better people under them. And I want to give a huge shout out to James and Zach, because they are really good at putting these pieces in place. Is they know how to affect the individuals that are below them in a manner that is, let's say, taking in consideration of the finite amount of time they have. So an entire football program is insane. The amount of nuanced pieces there that has to happen properly, right? Like if the spring weight training program, which Saban can't be at, isn't working correctly in the system, right, then the entire pyramid is going to topple. They're not going to have a winning season, or they're going to have deleterious effects that would affect the season. However, he knows how to spend a minute amount of time and put the right individuals in place, right? So we had Scott Cochran. Now we got these new guys who are supposedly better. We'll see. I was a huge Scott Cochran fan, so this is going to affect me a little bit, but we'll see.
Foundation's crumbling.
I'll throw up the fours going in the fourth quarter. Just let you know, that was Bama that first did it. But anyway, these individuals, know how to take the right finite amount of like tiny bits of adjusting what they do to have maximum, let's say, effectuation inside of that particular team. And that's kind of my goal. So, even when we look at conferences or we look at speaking engagements, and James and Zach and I talk about getting an ROI out over, like a 36-month period, and we look at if we spend money here and here, like what do we think we can get? But it's not just about the money, it's about the time as well. I joke that James and Zach and I have only been in the same room like 7 times this year. That may be a little, that actually may be high or low. I don't know, but not by much, because, our schedules are kind of crazy. So I think when we're together or we're able to get on a phone call, you have to have those important moments where they're able to affect me in a way where I'm able to affect the team in the way where the goal and the way we are going to get to the goal are all in line and understandable. Because if they don't give me the right information, I then can't affect people that I work with. I can't affect our referral sources. I can't provide adequate info to be able to be as optimal as possible. And I think that's how, and Saban and Belichick have done that to a T. Their entire day is scheduled out on how to effectuate the best possible through minor adjustments.
Yeah, there's actually an equation to that. So you have skill, right? There's a skill of being a leader, and a lot of people have those skills. A lot of people invest time in gaining those skills, and then you have this concept of capacity, and so you only have so much time to use those skills. So what you have to do is you have to say, which of those skills could I find somebody better at to do that thing better than me, with that minor input, to make sure we're all on the same page, headed in the same direction, so I can increase my capacity. And whenever you start to figure that equation out, those two things multiplied by each other, skill and capacity, when multiplied out, equal effect or impact. And so the more that you can build a team beneath you or beside you, is really the way I look at it. They're better than you at areas of the business than you are. Like today, I would say Nathan's a better coach of contractors than I am. And he has sole ownership of that and doing a great job with it. Braden, he runs all of our technology, and man, I have no idea what he's doing. But I know he's doing a good job of it, and I know that they both know where we're headed together. But by getting those two in place and several others that we have now, it has increased my capacity to now grow this business a little bit further, to actually delve into a couple of new businesses that people are going to find out about around the first of the year. Without those guys, that never happens, and we never get to the end goal that we set as our vision and goal in the beginning. And so I agree with you. on Saban and Belichick, they both understand that equation of skill plus capacity equals your impact or the overall effect that you have in the end. I'm fascinated by that equation. You can look at it in McDonald's, like the McDonald's brothers. They created that whole McDonald's thing. They can only effectively manage like 10 stores. And then all of a sudden this Ray Kroc guy comes in and goes, well, we need a guy that's an expert in this. We need a guy an expert in that, and put these guys in place, and boom, this thing blows up because he created capacity to be able to do so. All right. I've kept you for a long time. We're almost at an hour. I don't want to go over an hour. I know I want you to go study and make sure you pass that bar. I got one last question for you.
Hit me.
So we all know we only have so much time on this planet, right? It does come to an end. And so in that end, you're going to have lots of people around you. I know you, all right? There's going to be lots of people there celebrating Pate. How do you want them to remember you?
I have not thought about that. I want them to think of me as a person that just gave everything he had, right? Like, I don't want to, when I die, I want to have given it all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people talk about, you can't take money with you. And I don't think you can take interactions with you or experiences or, what you give to the world. That's all I want to do. Like, I wake up every day just looking to just empty out all the effort I have. And I think that would be the highest compliment anybody could give. And I get that from my mom, really. So for people that don't know, that's not like a me thing. Like, that's learned from my mom. So like, if you call my mom right now and you're like, hey, I need a whole bunch of flower arrangements up at the church by 6:30. Mom be like, oh my God, okay, let's get it done. Right. Or if you were like, hey, the library needs to raise $5,000. Can you come up here and sell books? And mom was like, yeah, she market the thing. All of my effort I learned from her. And then I get on her a little bit because we could definitely expedite some of this if we thought about it more than just out efforting everything, right? Like, we could spend like $50 and have somebody come fix this instead of you spending 4 days trying to figure out how to fix the food disposal, right? So I get on her a little bit about that, but that's what I want. Is I want people to say, man, he gave all he had. Zach Moseley likes to say he died for the game. Like, this cat died for the game. It's a little inside joke that we have. This guy's so hard in the game, he died for it. But yeah, no, that's what I want them to think.
That reminds me of that concept of leave it on the field. You gave it all. You left everything on the field. That's a cool way of looking at things, and I think you do that. I called you and said, "Hey, I knew you were busy. I knew you were studying. I didn't really want to bother you, but I thought it was a good time to maybe get you because of this whole COVID thing. We're not able to go out and do all the things we've been doing." And you're like, "Yeah, man, absolutely." Like, there wasn't even a second thought. So honored to have you. Much appreciated. And I look forward to getting back engaged face-to-face at some point and having some of these conversations.
I'll be in Houston the 1st through the 12th, I think. So.
Ooh, I'll be in Houston on the 11th.
Okay. But you live in Houston, right? Where?
I moved. I live between Austin and San Antonio now, in a little town called New Braunfels.
Oh, yeah.
And it's known as the river tubing capital of the world. They send about 100,000 people down the river every single weekend, and that's not happening right now. So there's like
100,000.
Yeah, so it's like my own river right now. It's great. It's fantastic.
That is nuts. Yeah. I'm sad because I was hoping you were in Houston because I've been seeing these. You just crushing it on the smoker, and I was going to come back over and get some giblets.
Well, hey, anytime you're in San Antonio or Austin, hit me up. We'll smoke some meat, and I'll put some. What do you like anyway? Like, do you like ribs? Or are you more of a do you like ribs? Do you like brisket? Do you like chicken? Like, what the 4 main food groups, right?
And So, I mean, it really just depends. You know, I like brisket correctly done. I like pork correctly done, and that's not in a crock pot. Anybody who puts pork in a crock pot, just please let me know so that I can judge you harshly and it'll affect our friendship.
Exactly.
I like ribs done correctly. I do a beer can chicken. Tonight I'm going to throw some ground chicken patties on the grill for MK. And then I'm going to get the smoker down to about 200 and throw on about a pound of scallops for me for tomorrow. And then I'm going to cook some chicken breast for me tonight. But really, it just fluctuates, man. So yeah, anytime.
All right. I'm kind of the same way on the smoker thing. Like, if you're smoking on like a Traeger grill or a green egg or any of that kind of stuff, and so I hope I don't offend you in any way, or one of those electric smoker deals, it's like you have minor leagues. Like that's there's no art there.
So I got both. So here's my deal. It's like I can't fire up the side by side and deal with the kids, and it's just too much right now. So I went out and bought a Pit Boss, but I like it because it can do the direct heat feature. So what I like to do right now, particularly on steaks, is I'm using this method to where I'll get the thing on direct heat where it's like blasting 700 degrees right up through this tube, and then I'll pop the steak on there for like 15 seconds aside, pull it off, and then let it. It's called the Italian method of cooking steak. But yeah, that's what I've been on here recently. But yeah, I've got both.
Now I know what I want to do my next podcast on. I want to get all of the vendor partners that are into like smoking meat and cooking meat, and we're gonna have a barbecue radio podcast. Like
I am down for that.
That should be fun. We'll have a whole group for it. Hey, Pate, great having you. Thanks for being on board. We appreciate what you do and how you do it. Keep being you, man.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, man.
Hey, everybody. That was Pate Smith. Super honored to have him. The guy's an amazing guy. If you don't know him, get to know him. If you need somebody to help you with your larger losses and you need attorneys involved, McLenny, Moseley and Associates are rock stars at helping you out. Make sure you align yourself with Heather because she is the one that gets things done around there as an attorney. And we appreciate you hanging out with us, spending a little time with us. Hopefully you got some golden nuggets out of that. Hopefully you found out some value from this of how you can apply it to your life, get a little better at what you do, and get better each and every day. We'll talk to you later. Another episode of Contractor Radio next week.